I was the queen of second chances, honey. You want a second chance? Third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 11th, 20th, 50th. Come on. We've got them here. That was me at the time. I've ignored red flags, smelled the smoke, and still walked right into the fire. If you've done the same, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Women, particularly women who seem to have it all together, women who are attractive, they have a nice personality, they're lovely to be around, intelligent, all of that. When people see them in a relationship that is not good for them, people assume that they're either not that smart or that they don't value themselves. And I am here to share that there is so much more to the story than that. And it's always something that has bothered me, that people try to paint that with a broad brush, but they don't understand because they've never lived it. I had to look back at my own life and realize it wasn't just, one or two things. There were a lot of reasons that I stayed. I was codependent. I'm still learning about this. The way I understand it is that I was addicted to helping people. I'm sure that's resonating. I was actually addicted to it, and I would need a fix, just like a drug addict needs a fix. I say that I'm a codependent in recovery because there's always that pull, and I have to remember all the things that I've learned and fight. I was insecurely attached, and after that first relationship fell through and I was dumped, like I talked about before, that's when that whole thing with the insecure attachment was activated. When I look back, that's when it started. I don't like to shop. For that matter, more so, I don't like to make returns. I'm sure there's some people out there who agree with me about that. Give me a break. Dating is hard enough. So now you meet somebody, things get going, and now you're telling me I got to return you and I got to start all over again, or I got to keep shopping. That wasn't my interest at the time. I used to think that love would conquer everything. I had a scarcity mindset that goes along with the shopping. I just assumed that this was it. There's not much more out there. I idolized marriage. Now that's an episode within itself. The Lord told me that I was idolizing marriage, and that's a whole other thing. I gave way too many second chances. I was the queen of second chances. I wish I knew that at the time. I was the queen of second chances, honey. You want a second chance? Third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 11th, 20th, 50th. Come on. We've got them here. That was me at the time. Where that all was coming from, I was very loyal. I'm still a very loyal person, but I was loyal to a fault. I was so compassionate, and I didn't know how to quit anything. I am not a quitter. That's how I sold all that Cutco. There were ups and downs, but I just stayed in it, and I was convinced that things would turn around. These are excellent qualities to go through life with, but they're not the best when you're having all these underlying issues. Underneath of all of those beliefs was the one thing that influenced almost everything else. And that's the script that I was operating by. Susan helped me to understand that I had a script that started in childhood, that I was unimportant. And this is one of the big ones I was arguing with her about, because I'm going, I like myself. I have a high self-esteem. What do you mean I think that I'm not important? Come on, I was not hearing it, and she would not back down. And again, she was right. And the Lord also had to open my eyes to truly understand what she was trying to tell me. I didn't walk around like I was worthless. Like I said, I bought my first home at 26. I was a confident person. The problem was subtle, but yet it was causing big problems in my life. So what it was is that deep down I felt like my opinion didn't matter. I would argue with whoever it was that was causing a problem, whether it be dating or coworker, whatever it was. I would argue or have some type of a debate, whatever. So it wasn't like I didn't stand up for myself, but at the end of the day, I felt like my opinion didn't matter deep down, and these were, wounds and traumas that I was carrying from childhood. And I didn't have a terrible childhood, so I wasn't even aware of it. I felt like my needs came second, especially if somebody was going to be uncomfortable. They're just small messages over time. I started to normalize being dismissed. And I knew that it didn't feel right when it was happening. But looking back, I was just so used to it that I didn't realize that, hey, this is a problem. So, for example, I talked about how I sold all that Cutco, and I went on to become a sales manager for the office that I was working out of, and I worked hard for that. I was also a full-time student, so I was helping to run the office, and I did so much, and my impact was so big that the higher-ups in the company, when I would go to a big meeting, they would see my name. I had a name tag on there. Oh, Rebecca. Oh, we know about you. We've seen the numbers, how everything changed once, you became sales manager there. All of this notoriety that I had because of the hard work that I put in. During one of the big meetings, the head guy announced, some MVPs of the division, and I was one. There was only I think maybe 3 of us, and I was one of them. And he didn't give me a trophy. He wrote down that I was the MVP on a basketball. It's something to do with the theme or whatever that they were doing. So anyway, one day that basketball was treated as a child's toy despite my protest. And again, these little micro type of things that now when Susan was helping me, I started to connect the dots. Oh, okay, this is starting to make sense now. So I had to realize that one of my greatest strengths of being compassionate and loyal and seeing potential in a person, rooting for the underdog, seeing myself in someone else and treating other people the way that I would like to be treated, giving grace. Like I said, I was a queen of second chances, giving a lot of grace. I confused compassion with wisdom. I didn't realize that you can be overly compassionate to a fault where now you're just being walked all over, really. So the truth is that without discernment, good qualities can actually become liabilities. I thought that being loyal meant sticking it out, staying by somebody's side. And all these traits, like I said, not being a quitter, having that endurance, the tenacity, committed, giving all these chances. I would stay until the wheels would fall off type of a mindset. And now, after all the healing, I define loyalty completely differently. I now am in full awareness that loyalty has to be paired with wisdom. If you are being completely loyal to a person or a situation, whatever it may be, and that thing or that person is not loyal to your needs, to your feelings, to what is right for you, then that's crazy. It's craziness. I had to learn that discernment is required. The Bible talks about this. I read through Proverbs every day, and if I miss, I'll read 2 the next day. It's so full of wisdom about discernment. It's all there. The Lord has given us what we need to have our head on straight. God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power and of love and of a sound mind. And I realized as I was going through the healing that I had a sound mind. It was these experiences that triggered these traumas, and now I just wasn't thinking straight. And the Lord blessed me with Susan to get through to me. We serve a good, good Father. We serve a good, good Father. We can mess up, and He's always there to pick us up and get us back on track. We have to be willing to do the work, is what I found. I had to learn boundaries. I had to understand that it doesn't make me a good Christian girl to sit there and let people just walk all over me. And again, in my life, it was subtle. I mean, I'll get more into that. It wasn't all over my life. It was whenever I was in some type of situation where my emotions were involved. That's when these behaviors would come to the surface, and I now would have my boundaries getting bent, further and further. I had to get my self-respect back. And I had to learn that sometimes walking away is the right thing to do. You're not a quitter. You're not disloyal if you're to walk away when something is not right for you. I had to realize that love isn't measured by suffering. That was the thought that I had, and it was probably the film major in me, because that's something we see in Hollywood all the time. This whole fantastical idea that is not rooted in truth and definitely not biblical truth. God is a God of boundaries. God is a God of wisdom. God is a God of justice. He is a God of not just everything goes. If this episode helped you to see yourself differently, then my hope is that you'll stop looking at yourself and wondering, what's wrong with me? It's the beliefs that have been driving your decisions, but there's nothing wrong with you. I'll say it again. God didn't give you a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power and of love and of a sound mind. If today's episode encouraged you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.